Hi, it's Andy, and today I'm bringing you some LGBTQ plus recommendations for Pride Month. Safe to say we should be reading queer books throughout the year, not just in June, but Pride Month is a good time to highlight the books that have queer characters, queer authors, queer stories in them. So yeah, here is a bunch that I've pulled off my shelves. I've split them into categories. So first I split them by authors who are part of the LGBTQ plus community and authors who are not or have not stated that they are straight, gay, bisexual, etc. And then within the queer authors, I have then split it into sort of real world and sci-fi fantasy, because some of them are historical, some of them are contemporary, some of them are romance, a lot of them are romance, but like real world-ish. There are a couple of magical realism in there, but we'll get to that. And then just pure sci-fi fantasy, and also non-fiction. So I've split it up. I've got 4 different categories, and I'm just going to go through them one by one for you. And if you have a preference, you can have a look at the different genres. First, I'll go through the non-fiction books by LGBTQ plus authors. First up is True Crime, a Memoir by Patricia Cornwell. This is her memoir, as it sounds like. She is a bisexual author. She was married to a man and is now married to a woman, and has stated in this book herself that she is bisexual. She also has another series that I really love, which is a crime series, which is the Scarpetta novels. The first one is Postmortem. There is also a queer character, a lesbian character in those books, but they are very, very high up, and I don't want to get them down and I don't want to forget about them, so I'm telling you about it now. But this is the non-fiction, her memoir. Next is Adam Kay. This is Undoctored, the second part of his memoir. So the first part is This Is Gonna Hurt. I'll put a photo up here. This is Going to Hurt is the memoir that was turned into a BBC limited series about his time as an NHS doctor, and also his experiences as a gay man, because when he started out, starts out in the oh my god, in the book he is with a woman, and realises that he is in fact gay. Undoctored follows his time after that. It follows on from they're basically split up into 2 sort of sides of his life. This one is quite there are quite traumatic and triggering things in both of them, so just keep an eye on that. And same with Patricia Cornwell. Next is The T in LGBT by Jamie Rains. Jamie is a trans man, and he is here on YouTube. I will tag his channel down below. And this is a sort of bundled together TLDR of, well, what it says, everything you need to know about being trans. Jamie has spoken to many different people during this collection of, it's not a collection of essays in particular, but it's kind of like almost like a self-helpy type book, but also good information for people who are not trans and want some more information. So he speaks to very many different trans people and people who are in their lives. For example, his wife Shaba also has a little bit of input into the book, and overall it's just a really friendly, really easy to read, well-researched book that I really enjoyed. Next is Queer as Folk by Sasha Coward. This is a look at folklore and the queerness in folklore and the queer undertones, as it were, to some folklore. This was really, really interesting, really very interesting, and I really recommend it. Obviously, I recommend everything. Next up are these collections edited by Alice Wong. It's Disability, Intimacy and Disability Visibility. They go the other way around. Disability Visibility is the first one and Disability Intimacy is the second one. In order of publication, you can read them in any order. They're non-fictions. Alice Wong herself is queer, and there are many, especially in the Disability Intimacy, many different experiences queer people have written. This is a collection of essays from different people, and many of them are also at the intersectionality of being disabled and queer, and obviously disabled and queer and people of colour, etc. Both of these are excellent. Next is What's the Tea by Juno Dawson. Like Jamie's book, this is also a kind of self-helpy type informational book about being transgender, and Juno Dawson herself is a trans author as well. This, again, like Jamie's book, very interesting, very friendly for anybody who doesn't know anything about being trans, and the best way to deal with all the issues we have with how trans people are portrayed and how they are being attacked currently, is to get as much information as possible. And these books by trans authors are an excellent starting point. And lastly, I know I have the book in my collection, I just can't find it, is Forensics by Val McDermott. Val McDermott herself is a lesbian. Forensics is a non-fiction book about forensic science, obviously, that's why I've got it, but I just wanted to highlight Val McDermott as she is a local author to me, and she's also a lesbian. Okay, now on to books by authors who are queer, that are set in our world, so everything that's not sci-fi fantasy. Just as a note, there are so many books here, I'm not going to go into the sexuality or anything of these authors. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, she's a lesbian, she's bisexual, he's gay, they're trans. Like, I might point out some authors, but there's no way I've memorised all of these authors' sexualities. I just have a list of queer authors, not queer authors. First up is this series by Alexandria Bellefleur. Alexandria Bellefleur is a queer author, as we know, we've done this already. Count Your Lucky Stars and Written in the Stars are both queer stories in this. I'll just cover my face, it's fine. Both of these are sapphic stories with both lesbian and bisexual characters. The middle one is not LGBT, but it is part of the series. Similarly, another series by a queer author. This is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Ashton Parker Doesn't Fail, and Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. And these are all 3 sapphic books. Again, with a variation of different sexualities in here. Next is Pole Position and First to Finish by Rebecca G. Caffrey. Both are male-male love stories written by a queer female author, and as you can see, they are F1 romances. Next is Late Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. Maisie Eddings herself is a queer author, and I've picked Late Bloomer as the representative of her stories because this is also, as you can see, a sapphic story. Next is Will Grayson and Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. No, John Green is not part of the LGBTQ community, he's very much a straight man, but David Levithan is, and one of the Will Graysons is also gay. Boyfriend Material, or the London, is it London Falling or London Calling or London something series? I forget, is a male romance by Alexis Hall, who is non-binary, trans, prefers he, him pronouns, but like, it will use any pronouns. Next is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. Again, Talia Hibbert is a queer author, and I believe in this Danny is bisexual. It's been a while since I've read it, but that is pinging in my brain. Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley Jones. This is a sapphic love story written by a queer, non-binary author. Shoot Your Shot by Lexi LaFleur Brown. I can't remember if the female main character is bisexual. Change it with man anyway. But Lexi LaFleur Brown is bisexual and is very proud of it. And the series is very good. Next is Chloe Elise. And I've chosen Everything for You to represent her series. I wasn't bringing 7 books over. Some I've grabbed books if there's particular books I want to speak about, but mostly I'm just grabbing like representation of that author. So Chloe Elise is a queer author, and Everything for You is a male-male romance. I do believe there are other queer characters within this, but this is the one I've chosen as a representation of her work. Next is Red, White and Royal Blue and One Last Stop, both by Casey McQuiston. This is a sapphic story, One Last Stop, and Red, White and Royal Blue is obviously a male-male romance with a bisexual and gay couple, and Casey McQuiston themselves is non-binary and I believe queer. If Only by Melanie Murphy. This is a Time Warpy style, if you could change things or if you could see your decisions if you made them differently type book, by Melanie Murphy, who is on YouTube. Again, I will tag her channel down in the description, and she is a very openly, very proud bisexual author. Next up, the elephant in the room, shall we say, is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This follows Nick and Charlie, who are 2 boys. Again, we have one gay, one bisexual, written by Alice Oseman, who is a non-binary author. This is one of my favourite things on earth. I obviously, you can see I have a Heartstopper themed tattoo. And also Loveless by Alice Oseman, I just wanted to shout out because this follows an asexual character. Alice Oseman, I also believe, is asexual, but honestly the asexuals don't get enough rep. So it's nice to have an option here. There was no way I was going to do this video without mentioning Emily Rath, who is a queer author, and also all of these books are hella queer. Hella queer. We have Pucking Around, which is a poly romance, and the boyfriends are boyfriends. It's true poly. The boyfriends are boyfriends. Everybody is together, and I just love the series so much. Pucking Wild, although it is just a male-female couple, Tess is bisexual and her bisexuality is spoken about throughout the book. Pucking Sweet, another poly romance, the boyfriends are boyfriends. I love it so much. And Pucking Strong, the most recent in this series, which is obviously, as you can see, a male-male gay couple. This one also has demisexuality rep, which I very much appreciate as a demisexual pansexual. Next up is Taylor Jenkins Reid, who again is a queer author. The first book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, where we have a bisexual main character, and then we have a lesbian main character in Atmosphere. Next is The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharp. This is a YA heist book. This is very interesting. She gets stuck in a bank while there's robbery going on, but because her mum was a grifter and a con artist, and she grew up as a con artist's daughter, she is able to use her previous con experience to help with the bank robbery, like to get out of it. And she's stuck in there with her ex-boyfriend and her new girlfriend, and it's hella awkward. The Boyfriend Subscription by Stephen Salvatore. This is a lovely fake dating, a male-male romance written by a gay man, which you don't see as much on people's shelves. So we need to be reading more of this. And this also discusses sex work, which is very interesting. You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tao. The book itself is not queer, but Dustin Tao is a gay man. And not the sequel, but the follow-up, the sort of same idea book as this, I can't remember what it's called now, but I'll put a photo up here, is a male-male romance. An author I've had the pleasure to meet, AJ West, and this is The Betrayal of Thomas True, which follows Thomas, who gets embroiled in the world of the London Mollies. If you don't know what the Mollies were, so this is back in, I want to say Victorian times, I'm not entirely sure. 1715 this is set in, and there used to be these Molly houses where gay men would be able to go, a lot of the time they dressed up as women to embrace their feminine side. They would have these different ceremonies, and in this, Thomas gets embroiled in that world, but there's also someone out to get the Mollies, and Thomas needs to find out what's going on before he is next. And lastly in this section is And I Darken by Kirsten White. Again, Kirsten White, queer author, that's what the section is about, and this follows the daughter of Dracula, not the vampire Dracula, but the real man, as she tries to be more like it. It is such a good historical fiction, and honestly, I need more people to read this. Okay, moving on to sci-fi and fantasy by queer authors. First up is the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. This series in general has a lot of queer representation, LGBTQ+ and beyond, within this story, and Becky Chambers, as is the point of this category, is a queer author. Next is Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. Again, Juno Dawson is a trans author, and HMRC does have queer characters throughout. This is a witchy series that is very heavily inspired by like the Spice Girls and 90s culture, and honestly the audiobooks are perfection. Next up is B. Fitzgerald. She has stated online that she is asexual, and there's also a lot of queer rep in this. So the first book is Girl Goddess Queen. This is kind of a connected standalone series-ish, but not really. So Girl Goddess Queen is a Hades and Persephone retelling. This one's not really the queerest. We have a Sapphic Troy retelling, which is The End Crowns All, which is between Cassandra and Helen, and A Beautiful Evil, which has an asexual character within its pages. Next is A Dowry of Blood and An Education in Malice, both by S.T. Gibson. A Dowry of Blood is a Dracula retelling from the point of view of one of his wives, and it's written in the style of letters to Dracula, or a confession to Dracula, or he's never named as Dracula, but you know it's obviously meant to be Dracula, and this comes from the point of view of one of his wives, his first wife, Constanta, and this is a poly, I don't want to say romance, it's a poly relationship, shall we say. An Education in Malice is in the same world as this, and this is more of a dark academia about two girls and their professor, and it is very sapphic and very problematic, but in a great way. Next is one that might actually surprise you, and that is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. Yes, Hank Green, the brother of John Green, and he is bisexual. It is not very well known. He looks like, he even said himself, like he just looks like the standard white heterosexual guy, but he is in fact bisexual. So yeah, this is a sci-fi first contact style book that also looks into the influencer sphere. Very interesting, very weird. Next is another one that may surprise you, and that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Deborah Harkness is a lesbian, happily married to a woman. I did not know that at all until I was doing research for this video. A Discovery of Witches as well does have, I believe there are queer characters, but it's not like the main point. Like her aunts are a sapphic couple, and with vampires, a lot of them, when they live long enough, they just stop caring. Which is quite common in vampire novels. Next is Goldilocks by Laura Lamb. Laura Lamb is non-binary and queer, and I believe there is a sapphic couple in this who are not the main characters, but it's a very small, they're in a spaceship, so they're very confined, and they are, a big part of the story. Next is For Whom the Bell Tolls by JC Lynn. JC Lynn has stated online that she is bisexual, and that is unsurprising because so many of these characters are queer in some way. Like, it's actually more likely that they're going to be queer in some way. So we have our main character Lily, who is bisexual, her partner Belle, who is bisexual, and then we have Sharky, who is asexual and non-binary. And then with the demons and things like that in hell, they are also like varying different sexualities, etc. This is one of my favourite books, one of my favourite things of all time. This is the book that came from a TikTok series called Hell's Bells, and it is about Lily, who dies of cancer at the very, very start of the book. She dies of cancer and ends up in the afterlife. And so she decides to go down to hell because everybody told her that's where she was going to go anyway. And she decides to set up a help desk in hell, where she can help the demons with the souls that come through that aren't the greatest. We're talking full-on Karens coming through who like to yell at the demons because I don't deserve to be here because I was a good Christian. It is the Christian hell, because in this there's various different, like, Valhalla exists, heaven exists, various different places. Any afterlife you can think of exists. There's even the void for people who just don't believe in anything and just want to go into the void. But this specifically is set in the Christian hell because that is what Lily is most familiar with. I love this so much. I really, really, really love this so much. I'm so excited for the second one coming out. Next is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mayer. This has queer characters within, and also, as is the point of this whole section, the author is also bisexual. Next is The Lady of the Lake by Jean Mingus. This is a queer sapphic retelling of the King Arthur myth. It follows the Lady of the Lake and also Morgana. I don't know if it's Morgana. Her name is Morgan. Her name is Morgan, but Morgana is like the historical figure. And this is dedicated for people who fancied Morgana in the Merlin TV show, which I've still to watch, and Jean herself is queer. And before you say it's Menzies, it's Mingus. She has said it herself, it's Mingus. This Z is a replacement for the Gaelic letter Yo, which makes this Mingus. Next is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I have to admit this is the only Patrick Ness I've read, but I absolutely love this. This is about a little boy trying to deal with grief, and a monster comes to his window every night and asks him to tell him a story or tell him the truth, and in return the monster tells him stories so that he can deal with his grief. It's really interesting, so good, made me cry so much. Patrick Ness is a gay man, hence why he's in this category. Another Emily Rath, but this time it is a sapphic Finnish folklore retelling with also a pinch of a Hades and Persephone retelling. Next is The Sun and the Star by Rick Riordan, Mark Ashiro. Rick Riordan is straight. He will be in the next category of straight authors writing queer characters. But this specifically follows Nico D'Angelo and Will Solis as they go on a journey to Hades and to Tartarus to save a very special person. And Mark Ashiro is a queer author, hence why it's in this category. Next is Silver Cloak and Our Infinite Fates, both by L.K. Stephen. L.K. Stephen or Laura Stephen, depending on the pen name for the genre. She is a queer author, and Our Infinite Fates follow the characters who reincarnate throughout the years. Now, it does follow them in the now timeline, but we do go back and see glimpses of their past timelines because they are destined to kill each other before or on their 18th birthday. So they will always find each other and one of them will always kill the other. And throughout these different lifetimes, they have been 2 women, 2 men, 1 woman, 1 man, non-binary. They have reincarnated into everything possible, every body possible, basically. And Silvercloak does have sapphic relationship. This magic system is based on pain and pleasure, so the pleasure side of it, they're very, very open about sexuality and sex and things like that, so there are very queer themes in this. Next is the Book of Blood and Roses, which is a sapphic vampire dark academia university style book, where our main character has to go undercover at a vampire academy. It's not vampire academy, but it's a vampire academy who are letting humans in for the first time ever. And since her family were killed by vampires, she wants revenge, and so she is working with this society to do so, but starts to fall for her vampire roommate, who is also the heir to the vampire rulers, basically. Next up is the Tobins and Tea series by Rebecca Thorne. There are 4 books in the series, the other 2 are here, but I've picked these 2 specifically for a reason. So Can't Spell Treason Without Tea is book 1, and this follows Chianti and Rhaenyra, and they basically run away together. It is a sapphic book, but the reason I've picked up A Pirate's Life for Tea to show you is because of the dedication. To the people who gave me 1-star reviews because the first book had lesbians, I doubled the lesbians in this one, just for you. So yes, I felt like that needed to be highlighted, that this is lesbians and there are non-binary people. Like, there is very, again, the world is just open to everything, but this one specifically, she doubled the lesbians. Next is Iron Widow by Jian J. Zhao, and this is a retelling of the first Empress of China, as a historical figure, and she was like the first empress in her own right, and she was vicious. I've learned more about her, and damn. But this is someone said it excellently. Shelley Parker Chan got it right on the nose. It is Handmaid's Tale meets Pacific Rim. So yeah, and there are, I believe, there is a poly romance in this, with queer characters, and Jiren is non-binary, and I'm not entirely sure if they are also queer, but they're definitely non-binary. There we go. Those are the sci-fi fantasy books I have that are written by queer authors, many of which also have queer characters and storylines in them. But I just wanted to show you my little ghosties that I got from the York Ghost Place, which are just, I got this because it's obviously like very much a rainbow ghostie, and this one as well. I just really wanted my little queer ghosties, and this one sits over here, and this one sits over here, and I just wanted to show you my ghosties before I go on. I forgot to mention V.A. Schwab, whose books are right on the top of my bookshelf, and I cannot reach them. But V.A. Schwab is a queer, non-binary author, and especially like Bare Bones and Midnight Soil is Toxic Lesbian Vampires, is a queer story. I'll put a photo here because I literally can't reach it without a ladder, and nobody else is in the house right now, so I'm not going up a ladder. Now on to the last section, which are books that have queer characters, but are written by either straight authors or authors who have not stated online their sexuality at all. The first is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a story told in, what's the word? It's not poetry. It is poetry, but it's told in verse, that's the word. This is a story told in verse, and about 2 sisters who only know they are sisters when their dad's plane crashes, and they find out they had a secret family. One of the sisters is queer. Next up is Legends and Lattes. Travis Baldry has said himself he is a straight man. This has a sapphic romance at the heart of it. Next up is Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. Our main character in this is bisexual. Hannah Bonham Young has not stated anywhere what her sexuality is, so we're just putting her in this section. Next up is a couple of books by Ali Hazelwood. So Check and Mate has a bisexual female main character, and Bride is very much, it's not stated completely, but it is believed that the female main character is asexual. Next is The Witch Who Courted Death by Marielle Lewis. This follows Casper, who is a queer medium, after her brother is killed and she needs to go on the run. It is part of a bigger series called the Supernatural Sister series, but this one specifically has the main character who's queer. Next is The Pearl Thief by Elizabeth Vine. This is part of an interconnected standalone series. That was difficult to say. You do need to read them kind of in order though. The first book is Codename Verity, and we meet this character in there, and then this book goes back to when she was younger, and it is a bit of a coming of age bisexual awakening story. Next up is In Memoria by Alice Wynne. This is about 2 boys who, and I say boys, not men, these are 2 boys who go to war during the First World War, and they went to an all-boys school, and this is very queer, very, very queer. They love each other, but it is still illegal for them to be gay, especially, you know, in the trenches. That's something that'll get you put to death. But this, honestly, this is one of my favourite books of all time. It made me, so stressed, so stressed. Next up is probably one of the ones you've been waiting for, and that is Cassandra Clare, because of course Alec and Magnus have my entire heart. I've chosen these two books to kind of represent the series as a whole. So this is the Red Scrolls of Magic, which follows specifically Alec and Magnus. Alec is from the Mortal Instruments series, and then we see him in and out in the, again, is it the Dark Artifices series? I think, as it's in the sort of now timeline. Magnus kind of goes through the entire series, given he's a warlock and he lives kind of forever. But this specifically follows those two characters. Chain of Gold is the first in the Last Hours trilogy, and this follows the children of the people from the Infernal Devices trilogy. But specifically, there are many queer characters in this, including Matthew and Anna, I cannot. This series is probably my favourite. I'm not gonna lie. Even though Magnus and Alec are my favourite couple, this series just really, really hit me. I should also say there is a trans character in the Dark Artifices series as well. Next is The Ghost Ship by Kate Moss. This is the third book in a 4-part series that follows different generations of the same family with a through line of story for the whole thing. And this follows our main character, whose name I can't remember. This follows Louise, and Louise decides she is going to take back her destiny and becomes the captain of one of the ships that she owns, because she was the heiress of that, like, basically it all came down to her, and she decided she wanted to be a captain. And so she goes out on the seas and ends up becoming a pirate, but also ends up falling in love with a trans man, who she knows is a trans man, obviously, but the crew don't, and the crew cannot find out, and it follows his story as much as it follows Louise. Next up is one that everybody will know about. Everybody will be wondering where this is in the video, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller, as far as I can tell, has stated that she is straight, but Song of Achilles is the love story between Patroclus and Achilles. It is one of the saddest but most romantic, like heartwarming queer love stories that I've ever read. Obviously, very much not the truth of the matter in history. Like, I definitely think they were lovers. Don't get me wrong, I think they were together, but Achilles canon in Greek mythology, I'm not a fan of, let's just say. And lastly, we have Rick Riordan again. Magnus Chase specifically, I've chosen, obviously he has queer characters within his Percy Jackson universe, but they are not main characters, so I didn't want to add that, but they are there. Magnus Chase, however, is I can't remember if he's pansexual or bisexual. There are also non-binary characters in here. This is Norse mythology. It's Norse mythology. It is queer as all get out. There we go. Those are some recommendations from my shelves of queer authors, queer books, etc. I've read all of these, so do recommend all of these, and hopefully I've given you a good scope to look at. There will be books on my shelves that I've just not picked up on. I literally sat here and went through my entire owned collection and googled the authors, googled the stories, googled everything to try and make this list. So it is by no means exhaustive. It's probably not even exhaustive to my library, but that's a lot of books, so I didn't want this to be too long. And while I was doing the researching, I was in very much a lot of pain, so it was stunted a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. If you have any other recommendations, please leave them in the comments. If you want to let me know you were here but you don't want to leave a comment, if you leave me pride flags, pride colours, make your pride flag through any means possible, through emojis. I want to see them. Let's really go off this Pride Month and remind everybody that Pride was a protest and we're not going to be leaving behind the tea. This nonsense about LGB without the tea, LGB would be nothing without the tea, and we are all supposed to be supporting each other, we're supposed to be looking out for each other, and this is a safe space for anybody in the LGBTQ plus community. I will fight for you, I will stand by you, and I will not be given an inch with anybody that wants to be transphobic or homophobic or anything in the comments, just so you know. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to like and subscribe, that would be amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.